Hi, we're going to talk about the past continuous tense. We'll start with the different uses, we'll talk about the form, and we'll look at the difference between the past continuous and the past simple, which is often mixed up a little. So let's start with the uses. We use the past continuous to talk about an action that is in progress at a specific time in the past. For example, at 8 o'clock, he was walking to the bus stop. Maybe he started walking to the bus stop at, let's say, 10 minutes to 8, and he got to the bus stop at 5 minutes past 8. But at 8 o'clock, he was in the process of walking to the bus stop. We also use the past continuous to talk about an action in progress before or at the time of a short completed past action. Often we say that the action in progress is interrupted by the short past simple action. For example, I was having breakfast when my sister called. So I was eating my breakfast, I was in the process of doing that. And while I was eating, my sister phoned. It was a quick action, very short, shorter than me eating breakfast. And we also use the past continuous to describe the situation at the beginning of a story. So we're saying what happens when the story begins. For example, early one morning, the sun was shining and the birds were singing. Is similar to the present continuous. We start with the subject, then we have was or were, so the verb to be in the past, followed by not if it's negative, and then the verb in the ing form. There are some specific spelling rules about the verb in the ing form. If you're not sure on them, there is a separate video on that. I'm not going to go into it in this one. We use was with I, he, she, or it. We use were with you, we, and they. For example, last Saturday I was working all day. He was still sleeping at 9 o'clock this morning. We weren't watching when the match ended. To make a question, we start with was or were, then we use the subject and then the verb in the ing form. So basically we swap the subject and the auxiliary verb was or were around. For example, was she wearing a coat yesterday? Were they listening to the teacher? To answer these questions, we would say yes, she was, or no, she wasn't. Yes, they were, or no, they weren't. Have a look at these sentences. Can you think when we would put these verbs into the past simple or when we would put them in the past continuous? Be careful, because the last one is a bit tricky. Pause here if you need to think about it for a moment. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you the answers. Number 1. We were working in Moscow when we met. Meeting is a very short action, whereas working is a longer action. Were you living in Moscow when you had your first baby? I didn't watch the match because I was cooking. It took me a long time to cook. Was he listening when the teacher asked him a question? We weren't sleeping when you called last night. We weren't already in the process of sleeping when the phone rang. When she left for work, the sun was shining. And this last tricky one, the journalists were taking photos while the celebrities were talking. So here we've got two past continuous forms, and that's okay because that shows that both actions were in progress, were happening at the same time. It shows they are both long actions, but happening at the same time. I hope that helped you. Thank you for watching.